Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaming, feedism, and everything plus size. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get into it. Today on the show, we're welcoming back 3XL Tim and their partner, Becca.
Hello.
Hello, my loves. How are we both today?
Good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled to be back. Congratulations on the award.
Thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much. And listen, congratulations yourself. I think when we've had you on the show in the past, we had you down as XL Tim, and judging by the size of you, 3XL Tim is probably more appropriate these days.
Thank you.
I would like to personally take responsibility for that.
Yeah. Just had a
Yes.
very big...
And Miss Becca, excellent work on your behalf, girlie. From our eyes to yours, thank you so much for the blessing of fantastic stuff. But listen, we were really looking forward to this one. I mean, listeners, of course, you're familiar with our good friend here, 3XL Tim, and some of the good chats we've had in the past. And this was just, I think, a brilliant opportunity to talk to two absolutely adorable cutie pies, maybe digging a little bit into your relationship today. So, listen, for anyone who maybe is not familiar with each of you, give us a snapshot. What has yours gaining and fetus journeys been like from start to now?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think for me, it's something that I've always had in me from the time I was little. I mean, we talk all the time about different cartoons and shows and things where, someone ate a lot and they became humongous. And it always hit to me, even though I didn't know what it meant. And then, yeah, my journey really started in like college when I read a dirty magazine for big women that had a feeder story in it. And I was like, what is this? Core memory. And then I'm 49. So when I was in college, the internet was just becoming a thing. So I found, belly builders. And that's where I really started to first meet people within this community. And yeah, I've just been going strong ever since.
Yay. Yeah, and you used to be thin too.
Yes. Yeah, I was pretty thin. Most of them up into my 30s. Yeah, because I tried to be an actor, so there was that. And I used to be really active and I liked it, but I always wanted to be fat. I was just too afraid. And then I started to get fat and I was like, this is awesome. And I, dealt with it, obviously dealing with the people's reactions and, oh my God, okay, now I got to lose weight. And I did and went back and forth. But yeah, it was probably when I got to my 40s, I was like, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. And I'm thrilled that I did. And thrilled that I found someone who loves me for it, among other things.
Among other things, yes. And mine's a little bit different because I was always a little bit chubby. I was a lot thinner back in like high school and stuff like that. And I always sort of fought it, but I like loved the idea of being chubby and like getting fat and like eating while everyone else wasn't, like everyone was finished and me keep going. And then I was probably around like 16, 17 when I like found like fantasy feeder. And then I was like, can I swear?
Yeah, go, absolutely.
I was like, fuck yeah. Like these are my people. This is great. A lot of creeps, but like I met a lot of really cool people who were like-minded. And I kind of went in and out of it for a while just to kind of like fit into the norms of things and people's expectations. But now I've really leaned into it and I found somebody who totally understands it and we're both kind of on the same page. So
yeah, we actually met on Fantasy Feeder. I think we're
insane.
We're the two that did it.
So you're the fabled scenario I've heard so much about on these social apps where they're aimed at feeding. Oh, so you can find this. This is possible.
Yeah.
I started Fantasy Feeder like when it started back in 2004, and exactly what Becca said. It's creepy, but like any fetish site. But yeah, that's where we met. We reached out. We went on a couple of dates. Then it was right after COVID, so we sort of lost track of each other, and then caught back up about a year and a half ago, and been going strong ever since.
Yeah. And he wasn't a creep. So that was like a good kind of creep, like the kind of creep that I want to be
Yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah. No, do
No,
you
I
know what
like a
that?
little, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, I
girl,
was,
that's tea though.
it is. Like I would get inundated with like messages by people who were just like straight out the gate, like, I'll fly you out here and like feed you till you die. And I'm like, hi, I'm Becca. Nice to meet you. And he was local, which is crazy. He was about like 20 minutes away from me. And we just had really good conversation and seemed to be like aligned and everything. So yeah, it just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy lucky.
Which just goes to prove the point that I keep saying over and over again, James. You have to put yourself out there. You have to actually be willing to leave your home, and then
Yes.
it's possible that these things can happen.
Yes, my God, I understand that people can be crazy and that things can feel uncomfortable. Uh, it's a conversation that's happening a lot in the zeitgeist at the moment. People really seem to be like self-pathologizing their own anxieties to the point where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna go anywhere, do anything, everything needs to be delivered to my door and everything will be perfect then. And it's like, baby, no. Even if we were just talking friendship, right? Like, that still requires vulnerability, and that requires investment in the other person. So, clearly, you'll have given that to one another. And, I mean, listeners, I'm gonna say this, the privilege of getting to see these two cuties, like, it's just, it's written all over yous. It's nice.
It is nice. Yeah, putting yourself out there is huge because, growing up as like a chubby kid, I always thought it was like a joke. Like if somebody was reaching out and, like what, they're not going to be into me as like a fat person or a chubby person. So, I was always very guarded and hesitant, but, you just got to kind of go with your gut, put yourself out there to be a little vulnerable in a safe way. And it's worth it,
I,
or get a really good story out of it.
I like that you brought that up because, long before I started gaining the weight myself, when I was just still identifying as a chaser and as a feeder, encourager, all that stuff, I would approach, like not necessarily gainers because they were a little bit harder to find in my area, but like really, really chubby gay men. And I'd approach, I'd be interested in going out on a date. I'd want to actually try to foster a relationship, and they would just shut it down. They would just shut it down, and I never got an explanation why.
Uh, that sucks.
Yeah. And and I'm assuming that it's probably, I don't want to, play amateur psychiatrist here, but, I'm assuming that that could have been a part of it, is that they simply they lacked the self-confidence to go out on a date with me, thinking that I might have been lying to them or joking, or that I'm doing some kind of sympathy fuck or something like that.
Well, these things are very real, I cannot remember who this was, but there was a fat liberationist who talked about this. She thought she had met a really nice man and they started hooking up. And then it turns out it was some kind of a bet that certain straight men do, like how to bag the quote unquote ugliest chick type of thing and keep it going for as long as possible. Like it just, oh, what was that?
I'm sorry, it's called Dogfight. There's actually a musical.
Dogfight. Oh,
written about it.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bunch of guys have to go out, they have to fight. River Phoenix, if anyone's old enough to know who that is in the movie. And yeah, there were a bunch of military guys, and yeah, they had to go out and find the ugliest girl.
I missed that one somehow.
Yeah, it was
Jesus.
I've never heard the musical. I heard it's good. I got really off topic.
No, that's fine. I mean, listen, I think the fact that it is clearly such a widespread enough and impactful enough phenomenon that someone was like, oh, we could make a musical out of this. We need to make a movie addressing the subject matter. Like, it is very much not out of the realm of possibility that there are people who you could perceive as having a greater access to the sex, shall we say, and questioning that person's motivations. And if we've learned anything, especially through doing the podcast, it's that there's a lot of fat phobia that people need to unlearn. And even if they're in the gaining and fetus communities, sometimes they carry that shit on their back like a big old satchel. And, you probably won't make many movements forward until you learn to put things down, unlearn some really bad traits. And to that point, Becca, I'd actually like to zero in on something if you feel comfortable disclosing. You had mentioned, of course, that over time, you've had engagements with men, many of which were creepy. And as much as you feel like discussing, I'd like to ask, can you maybe specify what some of those messages looked like? And if you feel gracious enough to as well, what recommendations you might make to individuals to help them better their approach, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely. In my experience as like a feedee, I am bisexual. So my experience in this community is mostly with men. It's very rare to find a woman that's into this. So I can only really speak from that. And like I have completely different experience with women on the other side of things. But when it came to like the men messaging me, it was always like at first I had like my face and they're like, you're not a real person. And I'm like, hey, okay, that's a weird way to start a conversation. They would message stuff like, oh, I want to like feed you. Like, when can I get you out here? Usually sexually explicit, like, commenting on like my belly or my tits or anything like that, just straight out the gate. And that was usually a red flag. Like, I'm as horny as the next person who like wants to have this kind of sex, but there's like a danger element there. So if you come off that strong right up front, all my red flags go up and I'm like, I don't want to meet you. If you can't control yourself even in this like curated conversation, then we're going to have a problem. So for me, like the things that I was looking for as like green flags were, did you ask about me? Can I have a conversation with you? How long until you start bringing it up? Like it's one thing to be like, oh, you look beautiful, you look hot. Like I couldn't help but message you. And then get into me, like as a person, you're more likely to get a date with me. And that's what you did. Like he complimented me, but it was immediately like, tell me about yourself. What's your favorite this? And so I would just fully recommend, like, don't come on too strong. Like, it'll be there. If someone's on a fetish site, like, for the most part, they want that. So just kind of ease into it.
Can I go off on a rant on something real quick? Because
Yeah.
this is
Go for it.
something that has grated my tits for years. And it's something that I've noticed has only really happened with like, okay, so I'm going to say gay men. And when I say that, I mean like men who identify as homosexual and cisgendered and are around 40 to like 45-ish years old, right? I don't think that gay men have ever really understood what our female friends that we've had our entire lives, and I know damn well I'm calling every last one of you out. You all had female friends in high school, you all went to prom with a woman, you all went to homecoming with a woman. You'll never understand that like I say, I get messages where people will out of the blue send me dick pics or send me something really sexually salacious or whatever, but I feel like as a gay man, I'm just like, yeah, right, that's not happening. And I just immediately delete it and I go on with my day. I'm not bothered. I don't give a fuck. But gay men don't stop and think, what if that was like my best female friend that someone sent that to her and she actually got upset? And like, I need to realize that just because I have the privilege of being able to brush it off and say, oh, it's just a guy, who gives a shit? Just blow him off. I'm not in the same vulnerable position as a woman. Therefore, I will never know what she is going through when she is essentially sexually assaulted via the phone. And I want gay men everywhere to stop acting like we give a flying fuck about the women in our lives and actually give a flying fuck about the women in our lives.
Love that. Yes. Yeah,
All
because
of that.
there's that element of danger. And like, especially in like a niche community like this and like fetish, like there's a lot of people out there, but it's still very small. And like the desperation, like you can feel that coming off in the messaging. And that is just like a huge turnoff for me.
Oh, absolutely. Tim, what you were really keying into there is a really important intersectional conversation that I think a lot of our queer brothers, and of course queer everyone and everyone in general, but we know who we're talking about when we talk about our queer brothers in this regards. The intersection of your queerness does not counteract the way in which you have been coded to be misogynistic in the world. And also, you can't help that fact because we live in a sexist society. Like, you have been stewed in that. And it is important that each of us acknowledge it and work the fuck on our goddamn bullshit. Because we gotta be there for our sisters. We gotta be there for our girls. Because y'all deserve our adoration and our support as much as anyone else gets to do.
And if I may add, I can't speak for every gay man, but for me, 99% of my faggotry came from watching women. It came from watching Betty Davis. It came from watching Lucille Ball. It came
Yes,
from watching
ma'am.
Greta Garbo. It came from watching Joan Crawford. Like, I watched divas to get this way.
I love that.
There we have it. But as you were starting to say about our good friend 3x Tim, you were saying that he did some really positive things, some really good green flags. And if I might deflect here to you, 3x Tim, for you, like, what has been your journey, shall I ask, in terms of learning how to talk to women? Do you feel like there's had to have been a learning and a growth journey, or is it maybe a little bit more intuitive than men maybe give it credit for?
I think it's definitely a journey for, I got to imagine everyone. It certainly was for me. In the beginning, okay, let's go back. On messaging people on Fantasy Feeder, on Dimensions magazine, that's going way back, I would send the obligatory hi message, which is garbage. And I'm like, well, that's just getting things going. In my defense, I didn't know how to do the internet yet. But I did the same thing. And then the first woman I ever talked to on like Yahoo Messenger, who was a feeder, I thought I was in love with her. Like after a conversation, because I was so, oh my God, I waited for this my whole life. And I was 22 maybe. And I was like, I finally have it. Oh my God, this is amazing. Where she was an older woman. She was in her 40s and she's like, oh, you're adorable. She's like, no. And I realized later, I'm like, what the hell? Like I was under a spell though. Like I felt like I was just enchanted. So with that, I do understand where people lose themselves. I get where it's a fetish and it's not, we're not everywhere. I mean, we are, but we're definitely not in the majority. So when you do find someone and you think that you may connect or even just want to fuck, whatever it is, I think we lose ourselves and we fall into it, as opposed to treating it like it's dating, treating it like, hey, I'm Tim. I think you're beautiful, or you're handsome, or you're whatever it is you are, and I really would love to get to know you better. And if they say no, then that's it. It's not the old trope that my grandmother was like, you just keep trying. And I was like, okay, grandma.
Oh yeah, that whole like, oh, maybe they're playing
It's-
hard to get, or maybe they just don't want you.
Oh
and
my
maybe
God.
playing hard to
Can
get
we-
never really existed.
Can we actually stop at the whole, like, telling our little girls that boy is bullying me? Oh, it's because he likes you. No, punch him in the neck. Stop this bullshit. We are fucking over our our people by feeding them this fucking hot
Well,
garbage.
it's kind of like every time that somebody is being bullied in school, like they would say, like it's when that whole anti-bullying thing started, I was like, where the fuck was that? Because when I was in school, it was, oh, it's a rite of passage. You got to get tougher, kid.
Ugh. All of this bullshit. We are all of us in the process of the great unlearning of previous generations' nonsense and figuring it out. Figuring it out. But Tim, I love what you say. That thing of they're a real person. And actually, Becca, to come back to something you said before, it's like, well, we're already on the fetish site. So actually, the difficult part is already done. I don't need to ascertain whether or not you're into this. The fact that you are here is probably an indicator that the tricky part is already done. So actually, we can bypass that anxiety and just step into what it should have always been, which is getting to know people based on the criteria of what is there already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's an adventure. I'm glad that like we met each other, because it is exhausting, and it was also an amazing space for me to like explore, like, wow, I am not alone in this. Like I have had these like sexual fantasies since I was like, a teenager, and like I'm not the only one that does, because it was always like thin is in, and you have to be thin to be attractive. And when I found out that I could find like-minded people, it changed everything for me. And I was like, this is such a positive space. But on the flip side of that, I'm getting like 30-40 messages a day with a lot of garbage.
And aggressive.
Very aggressive. And I was like, all right. I think too, because there's always the male side of horniness, but it's like I'm fucking horny too, and it's like I can behave myself, and yeah, I can get really flirty and stuff like that, but it's once that established minimum trust is there, then I'm able to like let that side out. And it's like, I don't really hide it. You don't have to pry very hard. It's there, but just like chill the fuck out.
It's like when I did some research on like the male gaze, GAZE, versus the female gaze, and the way that things are framed, and it's just like looking at the differences in the way that things are aimed at women, aimed at men, and it's like, and then when you armed with that knowledge, when you go out into the world and you look at advertising, any type of retail, entertainment, and you're like, oh my God, literally everything is gender coded. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it really, really is. But to your point, Becca, you don't have to be that aggressive. You can, it's going to happen. Like again, and then like Tim said, you have to put yourself out there, and it's not going to happen every time. You're going to get turned down, and that's okay. And that's it. Okay, cool. All right. You know what?
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
think
it.
that's an important thing to bring up again, like James was saying, that like being rejected does not invalidate your existence or your attractiveness or your intellect or your education, like nothing. It doesn't invalidate anything. Now, hopefully, if someone is saying I'm simply not interested, I hope they're saying it to you politely and respectfully. We know sometimes that does not happen, but even if they say it to you with venom and vitriol, don't let it destroy your integrity because you're still who you are. Just didn't happen to be right for them.
Exactly.
There's something to be said about being in an emotionally mature enough space to be able to hold simultaneously the rejection of one and your own ascension, right? You need to be able to simultaneously be like, I know that I'm fantastic and I am very much the worthwhile partner, a great lay, all that good shit, but they said no. And that's okay that that's not a match. Thank you to that person for already seeing that this was not going to be a match. I appreciate that. That has now helped me. I don't need to worry about that person and that potential. I can now dedicate my time elsewhere on other people I may have been interested in. There's always ways that we can think about things that don't have to be about the negativity. We can think about, hey, how does this help me move to the next potential thing? And speaking of moving on to the next potential thing, you'll have been together now for a minute, and I want to be a little cheeky here. I want to pry. What do you feel like? What in this relationship differs from past relationships you'll have had, especially relationships you may have had with the civilians around us?
You want to start that?
Sure. Tim, your cat's in the background, and it's adorable.
So
Sorry.
cute.
Forgive me.
Thank you.
I mean, with our relationship, there's so many things. And the feedism only scrapes the surface of it. But talking about that specifically, I've dated people within feedism before, but it's never been like this. This is something different. We connect on a different level. And when it comes to, and as silly as it sounds, but like when it comes to food, I'll say something like, I'm going to do a sundae with whatever, caramel and fudge and this and that. And I love how fat you are. And that just, it's so warm and wonderful inside me, or for you, all those things for her to, yesterday she said, dude, we were eating and she said, here. And she gave me what was left on her plate. I was like, and that's sexy as fuck to me. That's, that's the equivalent to doing a sexy dance to me. Cause I was like, holy moly. So yeah, there's so much of that, but it's also in a place of respect and so much communication. I can't say that enough. We constantly have to stay, just make sure we're always on the same page.
Yeah.
That I'm not trying to push things in a direction that she's not comfortable and vice versa. Because that can happen easily. That can really happen quick. And so, yeah, you really have to make sure you're checking in a lot. Hey, is this all right? Is this okay? I was thinking of doing this someday. How do you feel about that? Let's talk through it. And we found some really fun things that we do that have come from that.
Yeah. This is my first like actual relationship with like someone in feedism. I've just hooked up. It's been fun and it's been great. And I've mostly just had hookups, but didn't really connect with anybody. So outside of feedism, like we have a very strong base and we get along and we love each other regardless. It's not just the feedism stuff. That is just an incredible bonus. And something that's very different for me, and especially now that we live together, is like, I feel, if you don't mind me saying sex stuff,
Good.
but I feel the sex stuff is like an undercurrent to everything now, because it's like, we'll eat something and then we'll fuck and then we'll eat and then we'll like smoke some weed and like get hungry again and eat and then like fuck. And it's just this like the foreplay and the like post play, like it can just be on
Well, I'm
any.
sure that with the two of you being involved in the fetish, like so many things are now erotic that would not have been erotic if you were with people outside, like if you were wound up with partners that were civilians, quote unquote. Like there's so many more opportunities, doors open in some ways that, doesn't happen with the civilian partner. You're, I remember it was years ago. It was maybe like back in season 1 or season 2 when I said that we kind of assume that the gainer feeder relationship is just like food and sex, and in some cases I said must be true, and in some cases not. So it's nice to know that some cases it is true.
Yeah. And and there's days where it's not the focus, and but like if we're really, it's like the teasing, it's the like the constant, like, all right, are you gonna eat that next day? Oh, you're back on it. Like, it's just, it's like the constant teasing and just enjoying it together. It doesn't feel forced. I don't feel like he's indulging me. I feel like we're both just
In it.
and enjoying it. So yeah. And like the sex is good. So
Yes. I mean, first of all, I am glad to hear it. Second of all, I'm a little hearing about all that. But you know what? I tell you right now, I guarantee you, the moment you were like, "Can we talk about the sex and stuff?" Everybody listening dialed up that volume because they're like, "I need the detail." Because, and this is something we express all the time on the podcast, when we have these conversations, for so many people, it is the first time they have ever heard of this idea. Y'all may very well be the first example of a, quote unquote, successful fetus couple. And they're like, holy shit, this is real. Like, it's possible. Somebody found the lost city of Atlantis. Like, it's out there. God damn it. So I really appreciate you all being willing to speak to maybe some more of those intimate experiences. And I really hope for listeners that hearing this inspires you to know that the potential is there. Finding the right person maybe is the journey, but what you can have through that, I think, is something really quite wonderful. And again, I love hearing about it because I'm like, yes, I want to hear all my good Judies having a good fucking time. So yes, very happy to hear about it.
and we are. I mean, feel free to ask anything,
Yeah.
Guys, I'll just dump out a bunch of like sex stuff that is, feel
Well,
free to ask. But yeah, I always thought it was going to be something that like while I was single, I would just find my satisfaction with this fetish that I craved, like through hookups. And I had like some partners that it was very much like we were just hooking up. There were no strings attached, and that was totally fine. It was established, and that's like where the relationship was. But, to have it with the relationship is just something I never thought that I could have. And it worked.
Yeah, completely. And it goes back to what we talked about before of if you're not over aggressive, if you're not creepy, I mean, it's definitely creepy is one of the words. Awkward's definitely a big part of it too. I consider myself beyond awkward, not creepy. I'm sure I got creepy unintentionally, but it's probably just more awkward trying to be sexy, and how funny that can be. But
he's sexy. I intimidated him the first time, like we like hooked up.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
Were you?
Okay.
So we like went on a date, and it was like just post-COVID, kind of still in the throes of it. And we kind of just drifted apart. It just wasn't the right timing. And then I reached out to him a couple of years later and was like, hey, what's up? And he was like, all right, let's do this.
That's what I said outwardly. Inside, I went, yes.
Because I was like, we got along. Like, I don't know whatever happened to him.
Yeah.
So we kind of went into it with the intention of like hanging out and kind of just fucking. So I showed up and I knocked on the door. And when he answered it, I was like fatter, first of all. But the look of like shock on your face that I was there I cherish that.
I got to say, though, it wasn't I'm going to get hammy, but it wasn't the fact that made me look like that. It was, I forgot how beautiful she was. And I literally, like, I was, like, my face kind of dropped and I was like, oh crap. And then I had to try to be smooth again because I'm so smooth. But yeah, I really did. I lost it for a minute because I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. And then we hooked up for a while and we were having a great time and really connecting. And then I was like, when is he gonna fucking ask me out? Like, when are we gonna like go
Girl,
on?
yes.
I was like, I don't know. I'm not past asking people out. Like, but I wanted him to ask me out. And so eventually, like, he was like, so what's going on with us? Are we hooking up? Is this like serious? Like, do you want to date? And I was like, I'm so glad like we're talking about this because I want to date you. Because he was like, if we hook up, we have to stop soon because I'm gonna have feelings.
Yeah. It was getting to that point.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we went on a date. You took me to the Book of Mormon.
Yep.
And it was great. We got to like sit in the fat seating, which was
Yes.
awesome.
Side note,
Yes.
big when you are going to see a show, especially most theaters, the seats are tiny. If you call ahead and say do you have handicap accessible for people of size? I can't say it'll always happen, but we had these nice big chairs and
was
we
great.
sat like almost in the orchestra. We were like next to
Wow.
or the sound booth. It was amazing. So yeah, little fat hack.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, it just obviously turned into this. And forgive me, the point I was trying to make before, though, really quick, was getting past the awkward and the creepy. I think more people can have something special if you treat people like people. And, instead of coming out nuts and coming out crazy. And if you do get rejected, to taking it as what it is instead of getting pissed. And then,
Yeah.
because we all talk and people talk about each other and they'll say, oh, I talked to so-and-so and wow, you want to be crazy. So yeah. And then that could hurt you as well. So just be cool.
James has
Yes.
said many times that this is a smaller community than you think, and people do talk, and word gets around, and like, you could hear a rumor about somebody who lives all the way in California that you've never met before, but through the grapevine, you've heard something, this community talks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the point you say about treating people like they're regular people, it's almost like we're in the Grecian Forum and you're Plato or Diogenes just like speaking to the people, and the guy's like, treat them like normal. I don't know about that. And you're just there like, but it's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You'd think. But I get, again, to what I said from the beginning, like you lose it. You get caught up in it and
Yeah.
your head goes to that lizard brain place. And
Yeah.
We indulged the like sex part of it. And then I was like, oh, I have feelings.
Yeah.
Like, so it can be that way too, but
of course,
I was like, all right, I can't be without this.
Exampled by the pair of you in this motherfucking recording, you are actively communicating. You are asking who wants to speak first. Becky, you apologized for a second when you were like, I think I talked over you. Like, this is it. You're like a gay, straight, baby, who the fuck ever. If you are listening to this, and there is a part of you that is like listening for the secret that helps you to find a person within this space who you can be yoked with, baby, you've got to meet them there. You've got to be. This, I think, is the great example, right? And I'm gonna put this out there to the listenership because, and I will say this: we get to look at the stats for our episodes. The dating episodes are always stacked. That's the one that people listen to, so we know that people are always out here listening for things that they might need. So I'm gonna put it out there to listeners. If in any of these conversations you've got questions that you want answered, email us at thiccradio@gmail.com, and maybe we'll have a conversation with these two lovebirds, or maybe we'll bring on some other people and we'll do some kind of a round table fucking romance thing, we'll answer questions or some shit, like, I think there's so much glory that can be had in all this, and you two y'all are just so fucking sweet. Jesus Christ.
Thank you. Yeah, we're open books. Like we talked about it before this. Like, how comfortable do you feel sharing out certain things? And we're just like,
yeah,
we're good.
I'll say that because of share. I used to always try to force feedism into civilian relationships, and not aggressively, but boy, I ate a lot. Well, you don't care. Like they would just ask me if I'm sick.
You're sitting there like about ready to die from a food coma, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
You're right. I'm like, oh, I don't want to have sex either. But as a result, I didn't have an orgasm with anyone else but myself for a few years, and I had been in relationships, and then we went to see Book of Mormon. That's right. We went to see Book of Mormon, and we got together afterwards, and we had sex, and bam, and holy shit! And I was like, I forgot what this was like.
Yeah.
Now I have to fucking deny him of them.
Yeah.
You know what though? That is so fucking real. There is something. Okay, look. Like, especially like all of us here are the Feedee types, right? So like there is something to be said that at the end of the day, if you want to be the fat bitch, like the food got to go in your mouth, and if no one else is around to put it in there, like you've got to be the one to do it. So like I understand that for a great many of us, like the satisfaction, shall we say, that comes from the gain of vibe is often only ever fulfilled by the self. So it is an incredible experience when you actually get to fucking rubber hit road and get to have that moment with someone. So Becca, just real quick, I want to ask you something here because, through this conversation, you've made it very apparent that you are more than willing to be the one to ask the question, to make the thing happen and be, forthcoming in not only your own confidence, but your own assertion, which I think is wonderful to see in anyone. Within the community, but as a woman, I would be curious to know, because we like to probe these questions sometimes. There is a gendered expectation that a man will ask, and that a man will be the one to lead, and all these kinds of moments. How has that been for you in this relationship? Have you felt comfortable to take the lead at times? Has it felt uncertain at all? Do you mind telling us about that?
No, not at all. If you're fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like I'm pretty dominant. So there's a lot of me taking control of things. There's certain expectations, like certain gendered roles that like we kind of fall into, like certain taking care of aspects, I guess.
Sure.
Kind of. But our dynamic is so like whatever we want it to be, and I boss him the fuck around. And
True. And I also, though, I tell you when things have to.
yeah, when
with-
things are,
Yeah.
like he has his limits too. Like obviously it's not me just controlling everything. There is a little bit of a back and forth. But I would say that like in this relationship, it's probably the least gendered roles that I've ever been in. And I think it's kind of like our dynamic.
Sure.
Where it's, we kind of take turns as like the focus of, because we're both like feedees. But I'm like a feeder too. Like I love that element of it, and I tend to do that probably a little bit more. But
Yeah.
it is a back and forth, so we're just really fluid in that, and it just feels really natural. So
Yeah, very much.
I don't know if that fully answers the question, but
No, it definitely does. But also, you said something that now I must follow up on, because this is something that happens in the gainer community all the time. It's the whole, like, if there's two gainers, how do you show up for one another? And obviously we'll say things like, well, it's mutual feeding, it's mutual gaining. But there are so many gainers who express a sense of like, well, I'm not a feeder, so I don't know about all that. Like, how, if I can ask, how did you come to find that rhythm with one another? That sense of knowing how to prioritize one another. Was that an easy thing to kind of intuit with the other person? Or did it take a lot more of that direct conversation to really nut it out?
I'd say it definitely takes obviously all that communication. It takes trial and error. We've had some awkward moments of like, okay, let's not do that again.
yeah.
And I'll say this, Becca said something to me once that really, really hit me so hard. And the best way was we had tried something and it didn't work out. And I kind of got down on myself. And she was like, hey, this is fun. She goes, this is whole fun. Like, we'll try things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We don't have to do it again. Or we could try it again. If it doesn't work again, then we don't have to do it again. And I was like, oh yeah, like this doesn't have to be
This is fun.
Yeah, it doesn't have, I don't have to do
Like that's the whole point of a love and relationship. I mean, not the whole point, but I mean, it is supposed to be fun. If you're not like, there are many of us that have been in situations with other people that was not fun, and we did it for a long, long time, and it wasn't worth it. So let's not repeat the same mistake, shall we?
Yeah, like it's almost that same point of gaining. Sometimes people can get so caught up with it, like, I'm really not feeling comfortable in my body right now. I'm feeling really, worn out by this process, eating certain foods all the time just to put on the weight, and I feel so miserable. And it's like, baby, I started getting fat because this shit was fun. Like, I love my fucking body. I love this shit. Like, and that's the tea. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't fucking be doing it? So, like, you've got to come back to that point of fun. And again, I think hearing about how you're centering that sense of conversation, that again, I think answers that point of, well, how do I do this? How do I have this with my talk? Use the lips and the teeth and the tongue and the gums and the air of the lungs, and you put words
Open
out
your word hole.
and do the. You know what? Back when I was in primary school, they used to make us take the dictionary, and they're like, learn a new word every week. Learn a new word. Learn how to spell it. Put it in a sentence, and do that. I think more of us could afford to do that. Find more words to. And you know what? One of my favorite things now, because happens all the time. You have a conversation, and maybe someone says something where you're like, I don't know if I understand, or I don't know if they've made it plain. Best response, like someone says something and they're like looking at you, waiting for you to respond, and you don't know what to say. You go, say more words. Like I'm encouraging you. You know what? I've got a little something. Give me a little bit more. Give me a little bit more. Help me to formulate a response and get a better sense of understanding of what you're saying, what your position is.
Yeah.
All that.
Communication is key. And I know that at the end of the day, if I ever want to lose weight or gain way more, like, he supports me and is there for me through all of that.
100%.
And I feel the same way about him. But I think to kind of like backtrack a little bit to the question with like the dynamics and stuff, how we communicate, I think the reason that like this Feedee kind of thing works is because we both experience it differently. Like, what I get out of it is a lot different than what he gets out of it. For me, I'm like praise kink. Like, I want you to tell me how amazing everything is all the time. And he likes a little bit of degradation. Like, and so I think that dynamic kind of lends to itself a little bit more. So it's not like, hey, but what about me? Like, make me the center of it. Like, we both kind of want different things, but it's still sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same umbrella.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it works in a lot of ways, like sexually.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. And then we're both generous with each other as well. And it's not letting it, oh boy, this is amazing. I love this. And let's keep doing this to me.
Right.
You need to be generous. You need to, it's a relationship. You're a team.
This brings up, I think, a very quintessential point with regards to this. Ultimately, when it comes to the desire to gain weight, it is, in many ways, a selfish thing. It's you saying, I want more than my fair share, that's how I get bigger. And I need to focus on me because the food has to go in here and I need to be the one to make that happen. So I do think, like, perhaps this is one of those things that becomes a bit of a trapping for people within our space. It becomes very easy to go, I need to focus on how I get mine. Whereas the definition of a relationship is to make sure that the other person gets theirs. So I think it's quite beautifully articulated, that sense of what each other's needs are, and your priority in the moment, in the role play, in the sex, is to think, well, I'm going to give what they need to them, and I have to trust that they're going to give to me what I need. Which, again, communication, trust, all these very quintessential things. Now, I want to ask here, because yes, you all have been together for a minute, and I'm loving this conversation. It sounds like things are real positive.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that when y'all started getting together, that there was some adjustment, having to learn each other's flaws and pros, all the bits. And I would like to explore a little bit, what was that experience like? Was it relatively easy? Again, with the advent of communication, was it easy to figure that out, or was it a little bit more intuitive kind of working your way into each other's lives.
I mean, it's like any other relationship. Yeah, definitely. It took, look back to the trial and error, but that's not a bad way to put it. But yeah, just learning each other and learning here are the things that she likes, here are the things that she doesn't like, communicating to her the things that I like and what I don't. And then with the communicating is the listening, is the hearing you. I don't want to go to that restaurant. I don't like this TV show. I don't like when you say this, and listening to that and acting on it and remembering it and saying, all right, I have to make myself better if I really want this to work. And I think we've done a really great job of that. When something does go wrong, we talk about it right away and we address it. And we talk about it all the time, like how it's crazy that when something does come up and I say, hey, listen, this bothers me, you just, oh, okay, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And blah, blah. And all right, great. And then we just get to that point. Whereas I say for me personally in relationships in the past, it's always been just screamed at and, just made to feel shitty. And we don't have that. And
No.
we have points when we're like, is this real?
Yeah. But it takes that element of vulnerability too. And like, for me, it's been a huge adjustment going from having these kind of hookups in this kink to like have it be public and my relationship. Because, sometimes I fear that like people in his life are like, ever since he met you, he's gotten so fat. Like, what did you do to him? I think about that a lot. And, especially like perceiving two fat people instead of one. I think in a relationship, there's definitely some challenges with that, but it is communicating. It's saying like, hey, I'm feeling this way. I'm really nervous to meet these people because they're really healthy. And like, I don't want them to think I'm a bad influence on you, or like, those are things that cross my mind. But it is being vulnerable and open and like, how are we going to address this? Like, I'm really uncomfortable if this happens, or, what have you. And so that is just, it comes down to communication, and it comes down to, being confident as like a unit, like as a team who both want the same things, who are into this, who are invested in this lifestyle and invested in each other's happiness. That makes that work. It isn't necessarily intuitive. It's just sort of like, because we've communicated it, we've seen things that we're on the same page, or we've been able to like bring a new perspective to the other in a way that helps us understand each other better.
What I think you are, like another word for it would be conscientiousness. Like you are being conscientious of someone else's feelings in the matter, and which I think everyone can agree is something that society has lost a great deal of. Most people just go through life not giving a damn what happens to anybody else. So, like when you're in a partnership, not only do you have to consider your happiness, but now you're part of a unit. You have committed to being part of a unit. So your partner's happiness matters too. It can't just be one of you is blissfully happy, walking through life, no problems, and then your partner's miserable. Like that's not you got some serious issues if that's what's going on.
It's almost like the word partner has meaning. Like sometimes people get real weird about it. They're like, oh, well, that's my whoever, husband, girlfriend, or whoever. And like, I think partner is so wonderfully encapsulative of truly like what you mean to the other person. Like they are your partner in business. This is the motherfucker who your bank account is tied to. If their ship's going down, yours may well go with it. So you need to learn how to have a merger and get your finances sorted and protect one another, especially where there are things that come across. We know this as people of sides. Health intercessions, accessibility. These are all things that they don't make shit cheaper for you. They deliberately make that shit way more expensive. That is a cost that you'll need to coordinate and balance through. They are your partner in crime. When things are tough, when things are bad, this is the fucker that you gotta go to. So many people, okay, and this is a sidebar. So many people approach relationships as if you're in one corner of the ring and they are your opponent. And as if you two are fighting one another. Bitch, this is tag team wrestling. And they are the ones, when you've been slugged in the jaw, you got blood in the mouth, you blacken one eye, and they call time for the next round, and you fall onto that stool. They are the one with the towel, with the water bottle, rubbing your shoulders, reminding you he's got a weak ankle, go for that next. Like, They are your partner in the ring. Partner is meaningful, and understanding one another and how to best show up for one another, I think really is quintessential in, as you say, not just the fact that it's a gaining or a fetus relationship, but just a relationship in general. And Tim, I think it's good to call this out, that people often lose a sense of like what it means to show up for another person. Like, you should want to show up for this other, like, you're with them.
Of
Don't
course.
you like that? Like,
Yeah, that's always my question is like whenever like I mean, like if someone were to come to me for advice and it's like, my partner is like essentially alienating me, like totally awesome, and I'm like, well, why do you want to be with that person? And then like I would say if someone was telling me that they were doing that to someone else, I'm like, well, do you love them? And if they said yes, I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing that to someone that you supposedly love?
Yeah.
right. It's all of those insert points. So listen, I've got to ask the obvious question here because of course we are talking about the joys and the beauty within your relationship. But I've got to ask, what has been the biggest misconception when it comes to dating another fetus?
Something that and it kind of links back to what we were talking about before is that I've hooked up and dated with feedees that, or feeders rather, that I want you to be 700 pounds and I want to take care of you and I want you to, and as amazing as that sounds in my head, in real life, that's not terribly realistic. And we had that dialogue pretty early on about, you know what, we can't just eat McDonald's every meal. We can't just eat cake and you do all milkshakes. And so we really had to come to terms with that. And there's physical limitations. There's so many, obviously your health that you really want to be. And I'm not yucking anybody else's yum. If that's what you want to do, it's what you want to do. But for us, we want to be together for as long as we can be. And so, yeah, we want to be healthy with that. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really a matter of helping each other take care of ourselves too, because we both love delicious food. And if we don't keep each other in check, then yeah, sometimes we will have cookies for 5 straight meals, and that doesn't do anybody any good.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's making sure that we're talking about that and staying on each other.
Yeah, like not can't have like the foot on the gas pedal all the way down and just with fetism. You just can't.
Hmm.
Like we can eat and we do.
Sure. Oh yeah,
And
yeah, we enjoy ourselves.
that
Don't get me
is,
wrong.
it's never an issue. Like we don't hold back, but we also are like mindful. Like tonight I'm making a
Mm.
very delicious soup because I was like, I'm craving like fiber and I'm craving like vegetables and things like that. And that's
Mm.
more than okay. And I think that that was something that I struggled with other, because they were just like, eat this McDonald's and eat this cake. And
And again, there is that thing in the community about like, oh, how do you get fat? You get fat from the junk food, from the sweets, from the donuts, the fast food, the McDonald's, the whatever. But sometimes I just want some fucking Brussels sprouts. And you know
Yes.
what? Maybe I'm going to eat like 3 bags worth. Like that's still a lot of calories.
But
yeah,
baby, I tell you right now, if you take those Brussels sprouts, you trim them off at the base, you take off a couple of leaves, halve them, drown them in butter, salt, and pepper, roast them for 30 to 45 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit. Guarantee you, they will soak up every delicious drop of that. They will still have all of their nutrients, but they will be soaked with butter, be fucking flavorful as hell. Like, I've never quite understood this. Like, I understand, like, the fast food, like, it's very accessible, but like you can choose how much calorie you want to eat. Like on that subject of, putting the foot on the gas and how hard you want to lay the foot, like being in control of your calories by choosing to add elements to the food you cook helps you to stay on top of that. We've interviewed once or twice, and we're going to have him on again, speaking of faith. Blubber Boy. He's been in the community pre-internet. He's been around. He does the damn thing. And he talks about this sustainability within this identity. It's all well and good to put yourself through a grease trap and do what you got to do to gain the weight, and you are welcome to do it however you want to do it. But how do you support and sustain yourself? If you have gained to the kind of a size where you are struggling to stay on your feet for 8 hours working every day, then you got to get yourself an office job. But if you haven't taken time to train yourself or transition into that kind of a lifestyle, you haven't adequately prepared for it. If you've gained to the extent that you've got different health intercessions now, baby, you got to, we talked about this before, you got a budget for that. And there's no shame in being that person. But this world will not look after you. You have to look after you. And in y'all's case, you're looking after yourselves and each other. And also, y'all are both the big uns doing the thing. So, you know, at some stage, it might be the case of like, well, we're both too big to do the thing. So what do we do now? And these are questions that have to be asked. And you have to ask them with both hands where I can see them. You cannot be touching yourself when you have these conversations. You have to be sober and have to be honest about, is this what I want when I'm not working myself up? Do I still want this with full sobriety? And can I have that full adult head conversation with the other person sitting across the table from me?
Absolutely.
Completely.
Yeah, it's I'm a teacher. I teach high school and middle school. And, you know, I want to still be able to do that. And it's a very physically demanding job. And I'm fat and my students know I'm fat. But I really try to like pace myself and keep myself active. I have to be on my feet all day. And those are all things that I have to consider. Yeah, my students too. They make a lot of fat jokes. Like right now, like that big back thing is like
Oh,
everything's
yeah,
big.
yeah. Big back, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's for everything. It's like, and I said, what's wrong with being fat? And they were like, I'm like, I'm fat. And I was like, I know you've noticed, but I was like, we don't say stuff like that. I was like, we say fat, like the way we say skinny, the way we say tall, the way we say short. And I teach Spanish. So in Spanish, like those things are very interchangeable. Like the word for fat, like people will very directly just call you fat. And they're like, what? They didn't know? But it's like such a
Go, yes.
and I love
Go.
like and having those conversations with my students too, it just keeps me grounded and it keeps me like I'm active. I get to work with them and I also get to like advocate for fat people. So I like that part.
Yo,
No,
you better
definitely.
fucking do it. You better do that. I tell you, like, because right now the most public example people know of like a fat person who's a teacher is fucking Brendan Fraser in The Whale, and like that, it's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad.
Represent us so great.
No.
Not well. And he was brilliant. I heard. I haven't seen it. Yeah,
I wasn't
it's
thrilled by
that's
that.
Just listen to our review of it. You don't have to watch it.
That's how
Oh,
I
girl.
hate
Yeah.
this. I hate the spectacle of this.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I'm an actor. I
Yeah.
could have watched that role.
Yeah,
Girl, you know what? One day I'll release the full unedited version of that episode because
Well, I don't know if you missed what 3XL Tim said, but like he's an actor. He said I could have crushed that role. And there you go.
mate,
There's Hollywood not actually casting the body type to play the
not
actor, and
casting fat people.
instead relying on probably the worst fat suit I have seen in cinema in a long time.
You know what? It was very like, if this was Project Runway, it'd be like, this is very inspired by my fucking 5-year-old self who was stuffing pillows under my nightshirt and trying to feel the fat fat fantasy as a kid. It was mate, it was listen, if anyone has not seen The Whale and is questioning it, go and listen to our review episode. I was not kind, but every time it gets brought up, I say the same thing. Darren Aronofsky, if for whatever reason you are listening, it is on site, motherfucker. You are a shit fucking director, and I will fucking punch you. That was bad. God damn it.
I love that. Yeah, I hate a fucking fat suit. I'm like, just give fat people rules.
Well, and if you're going to use a fat suit, then I believe the gold standard to this day in Hollywood is still the Nutty Professor suit. Like, I think that they said that in terms of a prosthetic fat suit, that was the best they ever pumped out.
And it made sense in that. I mean, because he was going from one to the other.
Yeah.
And it had
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. I remember that point in like was it the late '90s, early 2000s when Julia Roberts did a fat suit, and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth
Yeah,
Paltrow
it was
in Shallow
everybody. Eddie
Hal.
Murphy did it. Martin Lawrence did it. Gwyneth
Big Mama's
Paltrow.
House, yes.
Didn't Sandra Bullock do it in some movie too?
I can't
Or I must be
recall.
confusing her with. I know Julia Roberts did it in that one.
Ryan Reynolds did it.
Oh yeah,
you
Ryan
know,
Reynolds did it. Dwayne Johnson did it in
Oh,
like
yeah.
part of a
Mhm.
film.
Do you
yeah.
remember the Irish show where like she put on a fat suit for like a day? Did you ever watch it?
Yeah,
Yes,
And
and
she
she was
put on
like,
for a day and
wow.
she's like, I get it now. You guys
yeah.
told me fat on the beach.
Yeah.
She did the
I
same thing with she was homeless for a day. And then if you really need to know the caliber of what Tyra Banks was putting out on television in the 2000s, her most infamous prank was where she pretended to have rabies.
Yeah.
So I think
What?
I don't think she's in touch with
What the
reality.
fuck? Oh my
Yeah.
God. And you know what? Like, there's a little part of me now, because, like, I keep getting the adverts for, like, all these AI apps, and all of them have a fucking fatify filter now. All of them are like, see what you would look like as a mega obese, wobbling, big fatty fat. And, like, the way in which people just download it and they want to see, like, everyone wants this. They don't want to fucking admit it. They want to be a big fat heifer, like the rest of us, and they are cowards! Commit to the pod, gain the weight.
That's the thing too. Like when I was like hooking up with a lot of people in this community, a lot of them were like fucking bodybuilders, like people who were like fucking jacked. And they were like, I just can't like date you publicly. They're like, you're pretty and it's whatever, but like people won't get
Ain't
it.
that some shit? Ain't that some shit?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was just like, all right, whatever. I'm horny and like this is fine. But it's like people want this and they're just afraid. Like I just wish we could flip a switch and people would just be over it.
Oh yeah.
We gotta somehow undo systemic fat phobia, which is probably going to be as difficult as dismantling the patriarchy. So
Generations.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's have a reminder here, people, that fat phobia is intrinsically tied to racism, and if we don't understand this by now, we need to be reading, say it with me now, Sabrina String's Fearing the Black Body. That
Yeah.
Listen, I've been saying to people, like, I'm recommending it now, motherfuckers. This is mandatory bullshit. Like, we gotta have some understanding about this, y'all. Goddamn. Now I'm gonna ask, what in your relationship, like when you first got together, what was the most surprising thing that you discovered about dating another fetus?
The sex was great.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yes!
two fat going at it,
Yeah.
you know, physically, you're like, what's gonna happen here? But it works.
It's the bee's knees. Um,
So that's good physics.
the fact that we both goes back a little bit, but the conversation we had about if you wanted to lose weight, you can lose weight.
Yeah.
Like, and now, great, I understand it is a fetish and it's something people are into, but we got to that point where we were just in love with each other, and like Becca said, the fetism was just gravy. But yeah, that we were able to talk about that and say, you know, if your life were in danger or you just didn't want to do it anymore, if your knees hurt that bad, then yeah, and I support that. We supported in each other, and I never thought that would be a thing. I just thought I have to keep getting fat for someone to love me in a fetus relationship. That's what I figured it was.
Yeah.
And
You could never gain a pound again and it would be fine.
you too.
Yeah. It's just it surprised me how much I could just relax and just be myself, because it was always like an element that was like so hidden, or like if anybody got like wind of me having this fetish, I was humiliated. And like having somebody that understands it, who gets it, who's into it, I can just be how I want to be. I can eat as much as I want and I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't judge. We don't look at each other like that.
If
I'll
anything,
say
we're excited about it.
I'll say this too. It's gotten me more in touch with accessibility. I never thought much about accessibility because I like people noticing how fat I am, and I like to sit into a chair that's too tight and have people walk by and watch me. It's just my thing. But Becca, that's not her thing. So it got me in my head into a place where I thought, yeah, I have to call ahead. Not have to, but I do, to places and say, you know, for the both of us. And then once we started doing it, I was like, this is way better. Like that one half a second where somebody looked at me and gave me a side eye, and I was like, ooh, or I enjoyed it, but it wasn't worth being in that much pain all the time. Now we go to places and I'll tell them ahead of time, hey, we're both people of size, and if we could have specific seating, that would be great. And most places will accommodate you. Some can't, and they're usually very open about that. At least around where we are, most places are pretty great about it. But that's something that I really didn't think about until I had someone else to think about. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and that's really comforting to me because I hate making those calls, mostly because I don't want to talk on the phone. But
I get it. I get it. My boyfriend and I argue over who's going to call in for Chinese.
But yeah, having that, like, it's just taking care of each other and like having someone who gets it. And we're just constantly like, I can't believe how much you get me.
Yeah.
And it took work. It took a lot of like investment in vulnerability and stuff, but it surprised me how comfortable I am.
What are your guys' astrological signs, if you know?
Sagittarius sun, I'm a Leo moon and a Scorpio rising.
Do you know what you are, Tim?
I'm a Gemini.
So Gemini and a Sagittarius. Okay. I could see that. I could see that working.
Yeah. My last partner was a Gemini and it didn't work, but not throwing that.
Well, there's always I always like to distinguish, and because James is not really into the hippy dippy mystical shit, but I am. And I like to designate that there's like the de-evolved version of your sign, and then there's the evolved version of your sign, right? So when you're de-evolved, you're messy, like that's your messiness. That's the years when you get to just like be young and screw up, and you're never more your sign than during those years. And then as you evolve, you mellow it out. You learn to curb the more negative aspects of your sign.
Now, Tim, you try to rinse me like that, but I do have my chart, so fuck you.
Fine.
My sign? So I am a Scorpio with a Scorpio rising and an Aries moon and a Leo midheaven.
Oh.
Yes. So I'm basically Satan, according to all the astrological charts. I'm cunt and asshole are my signs, apparently. So that's my chart, and I'm sticking with it. This has been such a great episode, and I truly believe that you have given some pearls of wisdom, like throughout all of this, with vulnerability and communication and unpacking your own self and just all of these moments. But I'd like to, as we round things out here, ask you all plainly, what is your biggest piece of advice for any listeners who are looking to find a romantic connection in this community?
I would say this is like, I hate myself for saying this, but be like true to yourself and like truly know what you want out of it. Don't do anything that you're not comfortable with, and, stay true to what you're looking for. Don't settle. And just because like, I'll never find anyone else in this fetish, like, it's not worth it. It's worth finding someone that values you. So knowing what you want, being really rooted in that and confident in that and who you are, that is, I think, the most important. And second, kind of going back, is don't be a fucking creep. Don't be like aggressive, just treat them like a person that you would meet. You wouldn't just meet someone on the street and just like send a dick. I've gotten so many dick pics. Like,
most from me, but just kidding.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, know what you want and be sure of it, and be willing to compromise in the areas that are important, but like really don't do anything that makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To that, I would just add, it sounds silly, but patience. I've waited a long time to meet Becca. I've been looking for her most of my life, and it got frustrating. And you kissed a lot of frogs, but that's a horrible way to say that. But anyway, you get the point, though. That and they were hogs. Yes, but there were a lot of people that I maintained that relationship because I thought, this is as good as it's gonna get. I'm never gonna meet anybody else. Like, what are we kidding? And it's no guarantee that you're gonna. But if you do it right, and if you put yourself out there, and if you try to connect and you try to understand them and let them understand you, then you can. It can absolutely happen. I know it feels like it won't. And I know there's someone looking at their computer right now who's like, not me. And that was me too. Believe me, I get it. But just be patient. Because when you're not, that's when you fuck up. That's when you start screaming at people and you start writing terrible things to someone who rejects you, or you start getting into a bad situation that you shouldn't have been in, because you start to get desperate. And I know I've been there, and it's not fun. So yeah, you don't want that.
Co-host Tim, what about you? Do you have any advice spurned by this episode or your own explorations?
I mean, I've kind of gone off and ranted a bit already on this episode. Some feelings that I'm rather passionate about. And I know that this is a bit like, oh God, this sounds like a romance movie, but things often happen when you're not looking for them to happen. It's something that people say often because it's true. I wasn't looking for Matt when he came along, so it's the minute that you just are you become content enough to say, okay, I'm alone for the moment. That's fine. I can pay all of my bills. I'm fairly certain I'm safe in my home, because yes, emergencies happen, but if you feel fairly safe in your home and cover your bills, just relax. Try being single, and I'm sure that something will float your way without you even trying.
For me, I would offer up simply echoes of everything that's been shared here in this episode. Biggest personal piece of advice, especially for people who are on the thin side of the conversation, and especially more so if you are someone who specifically just identifies as the encourager, feeder, admirer, chaser type. You cannot know the experience of being fat, and a lot of like what Becca was saying before. You need to have conversations with people on how to accommodate them and their needs. So if you do not have a lot of experience dating larger people, ask them questions. Hey, I'm really excited to meet up for lunch, even if it's not a date, even if it's just like a social catch up. I was thinking, there's this really cool cafe place. Maybe do some investigating. Look on the website, look on Google Images, see if you can see what the seats look like. If there's banquet seating, always a plus. It might be outdoor, but like, is it a rinky-dink little metal tin fucking stool that they have thrown together with a shit cafe table? That may not cut mustard, my love. Is this at the top or the bottom of a hill? Is there going to be hill climbing involved in this? Oh, I just thought we could go for a little wander around the... I'm gonna stop you right there. Little wander... You need to ask for consent if you're gonna
How
make
very
a big
dare
bitch.
you.
If you're
Not-
gonna make a big bitch hover, you gotta ask them, like, are you prepared to go? You know what? It's set up to be a lovely day on Saturday. I think the sun's gonna be shining, and there's a nice cool breeze as far as I'm aware, because we're down by the beach. Are you up for a little walk on the beach? Like, ask the questions. Clear up your own lack of knowledge, and I think people will be very forthcoming if they know that you want to learn to ensure that things are gonna be good.
Yeah, that's hot. Like it's super hot to offer. Like it's thoughtful. That'll go a long way too if you're like trying to kind of charm them.
Mhm.
The conscientiousness that you mentioned before, Tim. So, listen, I think this is a good place to end today, but I just want to say a huge thank you to the pair of you for not only being so forthcoming, so open and honest with your experiences, but also, for the sake of the two of us, just being so fucking adorable in the middle of this conversation. This has been a true delight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. This was lovely.
It's my third time now, and it's always a pleasure. And there's so many people that I tell about this podcast. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, oh my, come on,
Get on it.
Like,
We're kind of the only
Why?
ones still, right? We are still like the only dedicated one.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Award winning.
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Award-winning podcast. Are we award? I was completely unaware of this fact that we are award-winning. Oh my goodness! No, but we
Well,
are,
might be two-time award winning soon.
baby.
That's
Yeah, you know what? And this is a good reminder to everyone. If you see us in places, like, talk us up, tell people, share us. And you know why? Because conversations like this are a gold mine. This is fantastic. There are fucking asshole personal coaches out there flogging less than this for like $500 a session because people are trying to get all this out of people, and like this is all this love, all this positivity, all this wisdom. It's coming at you all for free. Where can our listeners find each of you online?
Well, you can't find me because I'm a teacher and I'm sorry. But definitely ask questions, and maybe we'll come back and answer them for you. But definitely send your feedback, and then I will try to respond through other people. But
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah, I'm Tim on Grommr as well as on Feabie. So yeah, please, any questions, I'm happy to answer. And yeah, we'll try to answer together. And yeah.
But with that said, as we do our closeout, I'm gonna remind you all that we do have a PayPal in the show notes. So you should, if you have spare munties, feel free to donate to us. So you know what? I'm gonna just get into it and read you all the right. That is a wrap for now here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you like this episode, the podcast, our guest, or just us in general, please share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccmouse and Grommr at Orpheus. You can also look us up on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or at our website at podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you'd like to become a financial supporter of the show, you can donate through our PayPal account, and you can always email us at thiccradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Bye.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Spotify podcast
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinzen.
with original theme music by CYMK.